Hello and welcome. So who's winning the big election in Jharkhand? It's big because it's taken more than 100 years to get to this point. The Jharkhand independence movement was led by tribals and they only got their independence in 2000. 14 years of this rich and beautiful state, rich in minerals. In fact, we're here at the Karma mines near Ramgarh in the heart of Jharkhand. Just look at this, an open cast mine. And this state is full of this. It's just replete with all kinds of minerals, iron ore, coal, everything. It's a rich state, but if you drive around here, the people are poor. So have the tribals who have led this movement really succeeded in what they wanted to do? For example, in 14 years, since 2000 when they got their independence, they've had 9 chief ministers and 2 bouts of president's rule. I think that's a record in any part of this country. It's a state where the people are still struggling while corruption is absolutely rampant and still is even today. It's also a very important election because the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has staked everything on this. He doesn't have any local leaders. He hasn't announced anybody to be the next chief minister. Every poster, and the state is full of posters of Mr. Modi and Amit Shah. Local leaders barely show up anywhere. So it is all about Mr. Modi staking. Can he win this state? Dora, in terms of Mr. Modi not having announced a chief minister, it really is all about him, this election.
Well, it was the same in Maharashtra, same in Haryana. He's saying, in fact, the posters say, Modi Sarkar, state and center, Modi Sarkar. So he's saying, vote for me. He's making it quite clear. He's worked twice for him before in the earlier 2 states. He's hoping it will work this time too.
So in many ways, Shekhar, this is like a new formula that we are going to show. And is it a test case that we're showing the honeymoon is still on?
Well, not just that. I think it's a test case for proving now that Modi is the new Indira Gandhi. That Modi can convert an election into a lamppost election and win it anywhere in India. Now, Kashmir is a different challenge. So Kashmir, he will not be tested in that sense, because it seemed to be so improbable. But Jharkhand, if this magic works, because this is all the tribals are only 26%, but the image is that it's a tribal state. Every chief minister here has been a tribal. The movement, not for independence, if I may clarify it, but for a separate state, was led by tribals. It started
for independence, yes.
From the British.
Then became independence from Bihar.
Bihar, absolutely. Yes. I'm tempted to say something, but...
No, what amazes me actually, the separation was so peaceful and so amicable, but look at Telangana, also a history of fighting for their own independence, but there was so much animosity, but here it worked so well.
Because Telangana, they were fighting over Hyderabad.
Hyderabad, yeah.
There was a prize. The prize here was Jamshedpur. The prize here was Bokaro. The prize here was
all the minerals,
coal mines.
Yeah.
But there wasn't one symbol of all this.
Right. Also, Dorab, in terms of the importance for the Congress party, we've been traveling around a lot of this state over the last couple of days, and you don't see their presence. So they're not bouncing back yet. Or they don't seem eager to do so.
Bouncing back in this state, which is a part of Bihar, the Congress has been out of power in Bihar for more than 20 years. And here too, they never were a strong party. This, in the old days, was a BJP stronghold, because the BJP was making inroads into tribals. And of course, it is true, they seem to have given up. They don't seem to have any outstanding leaders.
That's it.
Even when they've been parts of governments here, they've never had their chief minister. The chief minister always belonged to one of the smaller parties.
It's a very important election for the 2 main parties. The Congress, you don't see posters anywhere, you don't see leaders.
We finally saw some flags, I think, towards the very end of the day today.
No, but we've seen some posters.
Yes, we just saw a little bit, but
just
very few. They're just not trying. The Congress party just appears to have given up.
Also, I don't think there's any leader of any consequence.
And in fact, if you take straw polls along the way, nobody mentions Congress. There is no mention of Congress.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people say it's between the BJP and the
Hemant
Jharkhand
Soren.
Mukti Morcha,
Yeah.
and then the other parties. I mean, you never heard that before about the Congress party. So, but the JMM is putting up a bit of a fight.
Yes, yes. And the question is, don't forget, they were in a government with the JMM. They could have continued the alliance, but for some reason they didn't.
But look, the interesting thing is that in spite of strong anti-incumbency, you do not find too many people saying too many bad things about Hemant Soren. It's somehow either he has a benign reputation, I don't know the state very well, none of us actually does, but there is something about his personality or maybe his father's personality that is endearing. So,
Well,
people are unhappy.
One of the slight negatives, I'd say, they just see everybody as corrupt, and he's also seen, so like one of the leaders told us, in fact, he himself, Hemant Soren, told us, he said, talk about corruption, we'll soon hear it. Corruption is just a train, the driver just keeps changing, that's all. So he said, what are you accusing me of? So it's like there's nothing unusual. The only man who's seen as non-corrupt is Babulal Marandi, who broke away from the BJP.
He's the one that BJP lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's an old RSS
And in
person.
fact, since then, BJP has never recovered in this state.
So essentially, this is about an election between Mr. Modi symbolizing the BJP, the Congress symbolized by nobody actually.
Yeah.
There's no name that anybody comes to mind. Hemant Soren and Shibu Soren for the JMM and Babulal Marandi. Four big personalities.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look at how these chief ministers have changed over the years. Just have a look at them. 9 chief ministers starting in 2000 when it broke away from Bihar. Babulal Marandi, that happened in 2000. He apparently was too honest, and we'll go into why he was removed from the BJP. So Arjun Munda came in for the first time. He comes in twice more later. He's only chief minister 3 times. Then in 2005, for 10 days only, Shibu Soren, the tribal leader. Of course, Arjun Munda is also a tribal leader. But after 10 days, Arjun Munda is back for the second time. Then Madhu Koda comes in a year later, an independent backed by the BJP and accused of extreme corruption.
Carries on to jail.
And carries on straight into jail. 2008, Shibu Soren comes back for the second time, back with the tribal leaders. Not long enough, president's rule is imposed, 2009. Then after that, what happened? 2009, again Shibu Soren comes back for the third time as chief minister. But not for long again. Arjun Munda for the third time in 2010, another tribal leader. And finally, again, president's rule in 2013. But that's not the end of the story. There's one more still. Again, after 2013, Hemant Soren, the son of Shibu Soren, comes in. That is the history of 14 years of rule in this state. And with that kind of rule, how can you get progress?
But there are other interesting features. 4 of the 13 are Sorens. 3 the father, 1 the son.
Right.
3 of the 13 are Arjun Munda. Right? And in between all that, this state has one more very unique distinction. Mr. Madhu Koda was an independent who became chief minister because you couldn't agree with anybody. Usko bana do. So look, also every chief minister has been a tribal.
Right.
Whereas tribals are only 26%.
Right.
So it's very sad and very strange that in a state which the tribals fought for and won, right, which they have ruled apparently because chief minister is very powerful on behalf of every party and every group, including as an independent. And yet the tribals are doing so badly here.
They're still the poorest. They are a majority below the poverty line. But just moving on to one more factor, Dorab, I wanted to ask you, that nobody has actually had a majority. No party has, in 14 years, has had a majority.
Because I think there are 4 or 5 parties fighting. The tribals themselves are divided. And with Babulal Marandi setting off again, 3 tribal parties, 2 national parties, in a fractious thing like that. And no great ideology, everybody looking for the money. So obviously it's going to happen. But Prannoy, in addition to the 9 people...
So let's have...
Sorry,
go ahead, yeah.
There were also 8 governors, which is an all-time record in those years. That 8 governors.
9 chief ministers, 8 governors...
Hold. Only 5 chief ministers 9 times. But 8 governors and each governor with an agenda.
Yes. I mean, that's just... How can a state, how can the people actually do well? There's so much poverty, but I must say one thing that did strike me. Whenever we went and saw the Tata factories and the Tata mines, they stood out. The residences for the workers' housing, the cleanliness, the organization, the parks they make for the people all around, for the community, it just is a shining example. And then you go next door and you see either a thug, a mafia don who's just exploiting the coal fields, or you see state government which also totally disorganized.
But Bokaro also was well staged. Bokaro town, the township. You know,
but at the same time, you hear stories that people who got displaced because of Bokaro are now begging. Many haven't even got their compensation
Durgapur
yet.
people, Durgapur dam, that's another story that many people haven't got compensation 60 years.
So just let's have a look at again the second tragedy of the politics and the ruling in Jharkhand. Just have a look that no party has ever got a majority on its own. Just have a look at this graphic. When Babulal Marandi became chief minister, only with his allies did he get 40 seats. Remember, 81 seats is the assembly and 41 is actually a majority. But with all his allies, he only got 40. Then in 2005, in the election, opposing him, the JMM, Congress, all was equally dividing, 12, 11, 9. It's just a completely fractured mandate. 2005, Arjun Munda, BJP plus JDU, 36 seats. 41 is the majority. Even together, they didn't get a majority. Congress and the JMM fought together, still they could get 26 only. And the RJD, Lalu and the left, only 7. And the second election, as a state, the first one, 2000, was actually not an independent state of Jharkhand. It was fought, an election was fought as part of Bihar. 2005 was the first and 2009 the second, where Hemant Soren became chief minister, but all the three parties that fought together could only just get 43. No party on its own could get a majority. And the BJP plus JDU 20 and the RJDU 5. So, Dora, without forming a majority ever with single party, you're bound to have instability and poor rule.
In fact, one of the leaders who we interviewed said today that, you start a program and 3 months later you're out. So how can you show progress? Because you write a lot of instability and everyone trying to do something for his party and his pocket and moving on.
Well, even when you had combined Bihar, politics in this area was still broken.
Correct. It's always broken. You're right.
So no single party controlled this area even then.
But there's been one major change between the last assembly elections and the recent Lok Sabha elections. Let's have a look at the graphic of the state. Just have a look at this map of Jharkhand and you'll see that in the last assembly elections, it's a completely fractured verdict. Parties winning from all over the place. It's just spread out. There's no pattern. But then if you look now at what happened in 2014, the amazing dominance of the BJP. So in a sense, with the BJP dominating Shekhar in the Lok Sabha elections, actually winning 56 assembly segments, are they hoping that that kind of momentum will remain? Because for the first time, any party on its own has got a majority of segments.
Well, for the first time, any party on its own looks likely claimant to a majority, right? And frankly, you keep hearing this in Jharkhand all the time, that one thing Jharkhand has never had is a government with a majority. So I think this is in some ways becoming the equivalent of the Parivartan in Bengal, that have change. So have a majority, that you tried everything, now try a government with a majority. And when that happens, it's a one-horse race, because BJP is the only party even claiming it can get a majority. Right. Congress can't claim it.
In fact, if you look at the second map, the one on the right with the BJP swept, the areas they didn't sweep are the tribal areas. Yes. You look at the southwest and the northeast, which are both tribal areas.
Tribal areas, exactly. So we caught up with one of the possible chief ministers if the BJP comes to power. Nobody knows who will be, but we asked Arjun Munda, who's been chief minister before, remember, Is he going to be the chief minister for the 4th time? Or is this election only about Modi and not about local leaders? Let's see what he had to say. Are you going to be chief minister for the 4th time?
This depends on party decision. पार्टी फैसला करेगी कि आगे किसके नेतृत्व में झारखंड को चलना है, तो हमारे लिए ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है। आगे पार्टी जो फैसला करेगी, एज ए वर्कर मैं काम करूंगा।
जी, you have been chief minister 3 times and also you've been in power for 5 years almost of the 14 years the state is around. What is it that you felt you were not able to do earlier, and what is the thing that you will do now? For 5 years you have not brought much change to this state. What will you do now if you become chief minister?
Due to instability, अस्थिरता एक बड़ा कारण है, क्योंकि जब भी कोई प्रोजेक्ट, कोई प्लान को आप एग्जीक्यूट करना चाहते हैं, उसके लिए समय बहुत ज़रूरी है। आपने शुरू किया, कोई दूसरी गवर्नमेंट आई, उसको बंद कर दिया, तो इससे काम चलता नहीं है, या हार्ट बीट नहीं है, ऊपर से नीचे चलते रहे।
One thing he has always said, Mr. Supariwala, that all parties eventually become like the Congress party. And I'll tell you, every time we ask the Congress people, will you be chief minister? They say, not up to me, I'll do what the High Command decides. Now you are like, what the High Command decides. Why didn't you decide? You have been critical of the Congress in the past. Why don't you say who is your chief minister so people can vote in advance?
And know that person.
You would have liked that.
नेशनल पार्टी एंड फेडरल सिस्टम में कई बार स्ट्रैटेजिकली इस बात को ज़्यादा महत्व दिया जाता है कि बीजेपी के लिए या कोई भी पार्टी के लिए उनके विचारों को आप समर्थन करिए, उनके स्ट्रैटेजी को आप समर्थन करिए, और जो सिद्धांत है उसको आप समर्थन करिए। उसको समर्थन करेंगे तो आपको हम एक बेटर गवर्नमेंट देंगे। तो पार्टी के आइडियोलॉजी को भी आपको समर्थन करना चाहिए, इंडिविजुअल के साथ साथ।
जी, आपको जो मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिली तो क्या करोगे आप? किससे पास जाओगे पहले?
नहीं, अब देखिए, ये तो हाइपोथेटिकल मतलब क्वेश्चन है इसका तो।
So when we are talking to the people, when we are just traveling around, they're saying, is this all about Modi or is this about local issues? What is this election about?
देखिए, मोदी को पूरे देश ने भरोसा दिया है।
जी,
अगर आप देश के पार्लियामेंट के चुनाव को देखें तो मोदी पर एक भरोसा, एक लीडरशिप के साथ एक आइडियोलॉजी को भी सपोर्ट किया है आफ्टर लॉन्ग टाइम, मतलब बहुत दिनों के बाद एक ऐसा सिचुएशन बना। दूसरा ये है कि क्लीन मेजॉरिटी गवर्नमेंट बनी, तो अब वो चाहते हैं कि पूरे फेडरल सिस्टम को हम इस तरीके से करें कि एक अम्ब्रेला की तरह तैयार हो जाए और पॉलिसी मेकिंग में प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो।
This is perhaps the richest state in the union, and yet the people are the poorest. What do you think the government can do to change this? Because this is a very rich state.
Need very clear policy. क्यों? क्योंकि रिसोर्स होना भी, रिसोर्स कर्स भी उसके साथ होता है।
One more thing which people want to know, that 26% is tribal, but every chief minister has been tribal. I mean 74% is not tribal, but every chief minister is tribal. So tribal are more talented leaders.
देखिए ऐसा है कि
because only 26% led, but 100% chief ministers are tribal.
तो यदि आप ये कहेंगे कि अगर पूरा देश के पूरे कम्युनिटी बेस्ड एनालिसिस करेंगे तो 60 साल में एक बार आदिवासी को प्रधानमंत्री बनना चाहिए था।
Well, sir, thank you very much. Good luck to both of you. So that was Arjun Munda. Still doesn't know whether he'll be next chief minister, even if the BJP forms a majority. So Dorab, it's like what you were saying. It's they're becoming like the Congress.
That's right.
That the High Command will decide. I have got nothing to do with it.
Finally, all of them do, Prannoy. Finally, all is the high commands of every party that decides.
I think we are waiting to start hearing that old Congress line. I am a loyal soldier of the BJP, in this case of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Because anytime you asked a congressman, are you going to be chief minister? When everybody knew he was going to be chief minister, I am a loyal soldier of the Congress party.
And the High Command will decide.
High Command will decide.
So there is an amazing amount of centralization. And when we asked him that, he said, well, it's good to have a unity of policies right from the center down to the state, down to the district.
Prannoy,
is that true?
It only works when that central brand, I mean, in today's environment, you will say brand. In the past, you said charisma, personality, gets you the votes. So what happens in a democracy is who's getting you the votes. So if Mr. Munda was getting the votes here, then Mr. Munda would have a very good claim. Shivraj Singh Chauhan gets the votes in Madhya Pradesh. Vasundhara gets the votes in Rajasthan. Raman Singh gets the votes in Chhattisgarh. But in Haryana, Mr. Modi got the votes. So he could appoint somebody that nobody ever imagined. The only qualification he had of becoming chief minister is that he went to the same college.
And I suppose in Maharashtra he also got the votes.
Went to the same college as I did, right?
That's
Besides
right.
that,
that's why he,
Mr. Khattar had
he became chief minister.
no other
Now
qualification to become chief minister. So now a new young chief minister, Brahmin chief minister in Maharashtra. So I think he's putting his reputation on the line and he's saying, I will win this election for my party. And after winning this, I will choose a chief minister who will keep the state with my party or with me. So this is a new beginning for any non-Congress party, national non-Congress party in India.
Let's see what the polls say, Dorab, if you can also help me go through this graphic. What do the polls say about who's going to win this election? If you just go back a bit and you look at the past, you find in the 2009 assembly, the BJP and its allies got only 23 seats. The Congress 21, the JMM 18, the JVM 11 and others 8. Now, the big change happened from that fractured mandate to the dominant BJP plus 57 or 56, depends on interpretation of one of the seats. Congress just 3 in the last Lok Sabha, the JMM 9, JVM 9 and 3 and others 9, completely dominated by the BJP. So what are the opinion polls? And this is the poll of polls, and I must say that neither NDTV, nor me, nor Dorab have done any poll this time. So this is reporting other polls. Says the BJP will get 34. Remember, the halfway mark is 41.
That's the safest thing to do in a state like this.
But
Just
Prannoy,
give another fractured
these
mandate.
polls, because the
And
long
Congress, just one sec, Congress 15, JMM 15, JVM 7. So it's really fractured and looks like horse trading after the election.
But these polls were done because of the long stretch of the elections about 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. So the
because
question is
not allowed to announce them
that's
during
right.
the election.
So the question whether there is a
Change
swing
during
thereafter which nobody's noticed.
So that's you're giving them the excuse you've always used for yourself.
Yes.
I got it wrong because there was a last minute swing.
Because I have the right excuse always.
Always, okay. I want to go back to something that both of you mentioned, that all the chief ministers have been tribals. The independence from Bihar, first from the British, then from Bihar, was led by tribals. How many tribals are there in this state? How do they dominate the politics and the running of the state so emphatically? Have a look at the percentage of tribals. The percentage of tribals is just 26%.
It's just under 1 crore tribals.
And scheduled castes, 12%. So 38%. So there's a clear majority of non-SC, ST. Let's have a look now. Where do the scheduled tribes dominate? Here it is. They dominate in the southwest and in the northeast. That's the scheduled tribes. Here, where they have over 50% of the vote in 5 seats and in 17 seats in the south, 5 seats in the northeast. And where are the scheduled caste? Mainly in the northwest, over 20% in 12 seats. So they dominate these areas. And Dorab, the BJP hasn't done too well even at the 2014 election in these areas.
Those areas. But Prannoy, another point to be made, I think one of the reasons why why STs have dominated chief ministership is that they are seen as the clear leaders for the separation movement from Bihar. Give me another state right next to Orissa with the same proportion of tribals and they're nowhere to be seen. It's because they led the leadership. I think other leaders didn't develop.
Because tribals developed political elites in Jharkhand that others did not do. Others relied on Bihar. That's why Congress's leaders still is Subodh Khan Sahai.
So in a way, there's some form of unification here in that the non-tribals are voting for good tribal leaders.
All parties have tribal leaders. Every party except the Congress is led by tribals.
So obviously they're acceptable to non-tribals as well.
Because they were leaders of the movement.
I think Congress is right now nurturing tribal talent in NSUI and Youth Congress.
It'll take a little time? Like 20 years?
It can take 100 years.
Okay, we did talk to one of the major tribal leaders, the first Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Babulal Marandi, and a man who was thrown out of the BJP, many say because he was too honest, and still among the entire population retains an air of honesty and a reputation of being an honest politician. So thank you very much for joining us. You have arrived here spot on time. Only politician to come on time for a rally. How come?
देखो, हमारी कोशिश हर हमेशा रहती है कि समय पर पहुंचना चाहिए, क्योंकि जनता काफ़ी देर से इंतज़ार करती है।
जी हाँ,
वो वेटिंग में रहती है। हम कोशिश करते हैं कि भाई जनता को कम से कम हम तकलीफ दें।
Only politician who does this.
अगर हम लोगों की तकलीफ को दूर करने के लिए ही आज लोगों से हम वोट मांग रहे हैं।
Mr. Marandi, there are so many parties here. What is that you are promising that different from another party? Why should somebody vote for you?
इतना ही कह सकता हूँ, चूँकि सारी पार्टियों को 14 साल देख चुका है।
जी हाँ,
जब राज्य बना था तो हम भी 28 महीनों तक इस प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री थे, और उस समय हमने ऑनेस्टली इस राज्य के विकास के लिए हमने प्रयास किया और हमने काम किया, दिन रात हमने मेहनत किया। बाद के दिनों में बीजेपी ने जेएमएम के साथ भी सरकार बनाई, कांग्रेस ने जेएमएम के साथ भी बनाई, निर्दलीय को भी मुख्यमंत्री बनाया। ये 14 में से 12 साल सबको लोगों ने देखा है। जो 28 महीनों में जो काम हुआ था वो फिर नहीं हुआ, बल्कि बाद के दिनों में करप्शन खूब बढ़ा राज्य में। अब इसलिए मैं समझता हूं कि लोग निश्चित रूप से इस बात को।
And what do you think of Mr. Modi, नरेंद्र मोदी?
मोदी के बारे में इतना कहूँगा कि मनमोहन सिंह देश के प्रधानमंत्री थे, कम बोलते थे, मोदी जी अधिक बोलते हैं लेकिन करते कम हैं। अब खास करके काला धन के विषय में भी उन्होंने क्या कहा था कि हम काला धन विदेश से ले आएंगे, हर देशवासियों के खाता में 15 से 20 लाख रुपया आ जाएगा। लेकिन अब तो 6 महीना से अधिक हो गया, आप तो बोलते भी नहीं, आप लाए भी नहीं, अब तो उन लोगों का नाम भी नहीं बताते हैं। मनमोहन सिंह कम बोलते थे, मोदी अधिक बोलते हैं, लेकिन गरजते हैं, बरसते नहीं हैं।
Any side you leaning to prefer in case they call you and say, please help us from outside?
मैं तो कहूँगा कि अगर कोई भी हमें सपोर्ट करते हैं तो हम सबों से सपोर्ट मांगते हैं, लेकिन हम मुद्दों से भटक करके मुद्रा के लिए कभी भी हम पॉलिटिक्स।
So you will take support from any party. Nobody is untouchable.
नहीं, टचेबल और अनटचेबल की विषय यहाँ नहीं है। विषय इतना ही है कि इस राज्य की विकास के लिए जनता को जैसे सोचने के लिए हम कहते हैं, पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को भी हम कहते हैं कि इस राज्य के लिए विचार करो।
Is there a lot of money power in this election being used?
नहीं, मनी पावर तो बीजेपी यूज कर रही है, जेएमएम यूज कर रहे हैं, अशुभ पार्टी यूज कर रहे हैं। मैं तो कहता हूँ कि इस देश के ये जो चुनाव है विधानसभा की, मेरे पास उतनी पैसे नहीं है कि हमने कोई लूटा नहीं है, और लूटने के लिए मैं राजनीति भी नहीं करता हूँ। और इसलिए आज जो इस चुनाव में मैं कहूँगा कि पैसे की खूब दिख रहा है चमक, उसकी टेलीविज़न में दिख रहा है, खंभों में दिख रहा है, बोर्ड में दिख रहा है, और गांव घरों में भी दिख रहा है। लोग पैसे से खरीदने की लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
Is the Naxal problem still acute here, or is it now not so?
नहीं, प्रॉब्लम है पूरे क्षेत्र में। ये भी क्षेत्र पूरा प्रभावित है। राज्य के 21 जिला आज 24 में से प्रभावित है। लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट अगर डेवलपमेंट अप्रोच थोड़ा बढ़ानी पड़ेगी, और डेवलपमेंट अप्रोच मतलब सड़क और बिजली ही मात्र नहीं है, काम से लोगों को जोड़ना, लोगों को काम देना, ताकि उनके पॉकेट में पैसे आ सके, उनको रोजगार मिल सके। इस बात को हमें ध्यान में नहीं बोलना चाहिए। नहीं तो हम अच्छी सड़क बना लिए, उनके हाथों में काम नहीं होगी तो फिर हथियार उठाएंगे।
One last issue on honesty. Are you ever going to be a chief minister again of Jharkhand, or are you too honest to be a chief minister?
मैंने तो बार बार कहा है कि ईमानदारी से एक सेवक बन करके हम सेवा करेंगे।
Chief Minister, one more time?
मैं चाहता हूँ, और जनता से मैं अपील भी कर रहा हूँ कि सेवा करने का आप मौका दें, ताकि इस राज्य में जो गरीबी, पिछड़ापन, अशिक्षा, अंधकार है, उसको दूर कर सके।
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Babulal Marandi, considered a rare politician in this state of corruption, because he, being honest, was just impossible for any party to accommodate.
Well, even for the BJP. And the folklore was that a lot of the very senior BJP leaders who saw Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand as milch cows. I'm sorry to use that metaphor for BJP leaders. They had big contracting businesses, many other vested interests, and they thought that this was okay for them to get a part of this, to get on this gravy train. But it seems that Babulal Marandi did not accommodate them, or as they say in politics, he wasn't so flexible or pragmatic and paid for it. And I think people by and large acknowledge that here. And that's why, even though he's more or less a partyless person, he still has a voter base. Not as much as, say, Yediyurappa did in Karnataka, but as a BJP rebel, he does make a difference.
Yes, he still gets 10, 11.
Don't forget, Yediyurappa was out and back. He's been out now almost more than 10 years.
Yes.
Right.
He's been out a long time.
Yes.
So it's not that, you know.
So what is his future? Is the only honest person seen in this? Will the BJP ever call him back, or is he ever going to be able to form a government and be chief minister himself?
I think his base seems
even
to
if there's horse trading, he won't get involved.
Yeah, his base seems to be shrinking because, there is so much money floating around. Everybody's spending money. The JMM has got pots of money, so has the BJP. So I think, he's just going to be squeezed out with some loyalists left over time.
Tell us a bit, Shekhar, about the mafia, the Dhanbad mafia, the mafia of this state.
In a state, first of all, in a state where an independent can become chief minister for some time, anybody can become chief minister, right? So let's not rule him out, because if it is a split verdict, then all bets are off.
Shekhar, the independent's available because he's open to all offers. He's not open to any offers. That's the problem he has.
But all I would say is don't rule anybody out. But look, this state has a problem. This state, a local politician, in fact, a senior politician described this to me. He said, when you write a book on banana republics of the world, start with Jharkhand. He said, this is where everyone is in cahoots with everyone else. So he said, and I think many people would testify to this, that businessmen, miners, real estate people, politicians, bureaucrats, police, media, certainly, and frankly, I say this with great trepidation, at least some of the judiciary. And the description I was given was, everyone is very reasonable, they sit across the table and sort everything out.
It's really quite shocking. The stories we've heard in the last few days have been shocking.
A very small but very dominant majority, which has linkages cutting across party lines, because party loyalties are secondary here to economic interests. They make deals, and deals are all based on the wealth that we see around us, and that you can smell it. For those of us who lived through the era of coal-fired engines, it reminds you of a train ride in the past, right?
Exactly.
It's the same
So
smell.
then we finally, as we've just been mentioning, we just saw Congress nowhere in this election. People didn't talk about it, didn't see posters. So we caught up with the only campaigner for the Congress party that's slightly visible.
And Prannoy, can I add something? And this is the same Congress that brought the big factories to this region.
Right.
Right?
And they're just nowhere.
And they're not talking about
and
anything.
We talked to Subodh Kant Sahai. Let's see what he had to say about the prospects for the Congress. So what is your assessment of the chance of the Congress in the Jharkhand elections?
I know we are going to be the largest single party in UPA combination. And I'm 100% sure that we are going to form government again here.
Mr. Sai, if you're traveling, we see no posters, no hoardings, no workers, nothing.
This is extreme. You can really observe, you are rightly, because they have literally covered the entire state, the BJP and all. I think we have never seen 77 onwards we are contesting election and winning. But this type of election, there's nobody who doesn't have a money. And now today you can say the Congress party has also not extended anything which can cover something like that. Very nominally we have done. But at the same time, BJP, this all Adambar or so many things like showmanship is not going to help BJP here anyway.
No, but when you talk to the people, we've been talking to a lot of villagers, they say the Congress seems to have given up this time. You're handing it over to either the JMM or BJP and just given up.
No, basically, it's a matter of how strong your candidate is there. The first phase is our. Second phase we are doing very well. and the third phase also. So we were having the 14th seat here. The fight is between the 42. Who is going to have a 42? We are having government here. The combination of the UPA is already exists here. We are contesting separately. So I can assure you that to form a government for UPA, whatever is required, that is we are going to have.
But it will again be an unstable government. I mean, you had 9 governments in 10 years, 8 governments in 10 years.
From day one, this culture is being destroyed by the BJP because they formed first government here. Second government was the worst because they take out all MLAs, independent MLAs, and take them to the Jaipur and all, and bribery and horse trading this year. So it's become a more or less the combination of the gangster in the BJP, the ASU and the all 5-6 independent MLA. They have ruined the system. So whatever the culture they have established, we are going to suffer for that.
But they say BJP has become like the Congress, that you used to also do all this.
I don't think.
People are saying the politicians are...
No, I can understand today is the marketing days and everything goes by that. But the extreme marketing of the Narendra Modi is going to ruin the Indian politics. Sir, you can't have that much money. You can't have.
Who would be your chief minister candidate?
That we can't choose when we are going in the coalition. You can't say anything like that. But you can say the Bihar chief minister is with me. So I'm trying to keep that secular force together.
But now it's Mr. Modi, which they didn't have earlier.
I don't.
Many people think it's a Modi election. Is it a Modi election?
Balloon is being already punctured because he has nothing, not a single word positive he has said in the 7, 8, 9 campaign. Not a single word. Today, where we are standing, he said, which is very alarming for the country, that nationalization is not a good thing. I can't believe the Prime Minister of this country who knows that we are having more below poverty line people than the upper class. So he is going for the privatization, defying nationalization.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing the time. Thank you. And just to rub it in fact, what we noticed that of the entire crowd that was there to greet him, most of them were JDU supporters because the local JDU candidate there is very strong. So the Congress, nowhere.
Not anywhere.
I think Congress is taking what young people call a gap year.
Gap year.
For a year.
Benefit from that. Maybe they will. That's a good one. But is that also one reason why no other parties have allied with them? Because they might suffer. For example, we met up with the current Chief Minister, Mr. Soren, Hemant Soren, and we asked him, why is he fighting this alone? Shouldn't he have been in an alliance? And he was pretty clear in his answers. You've had 9 chief ministers here in 14 years.
Yes.
Never repeated. This time are you going to repeat?
Definitely.
Why do you say that?
Because I think I have done in 14 months in state for lots of things. So I am confident.
But in case you're a little short, who will you ask support for? You won't answer this question, I know. First BJP or first Congress or first... In case little bit you need help, who will you ask?
नहीं अभी मैं नहीं कहना चाहूँगा because अभी मैं इलेक्शन के मिडिल पर हूँ.
हाँ, I thought you will not answer this one.
मैं फुल कॉन्फिडेंट हूँ. लोगों को मैंने ये ऑप्शन दे रखा हुआ है कि भाई आप तो कुछ करो.
जी हाँ.
अब आफ्टर इलेक्शन
मिस्टर मोदी आए, उनकी कुछ असर हो रही है?
ये तो आप लोग एनालाइज करें तो ज़्यादा. हमारे लिए तो ऐसा नहीं, क्योंकि झारखंड मुक्ति मोर्चा को उनकी लहर से कोई असर नहीं पड़ता. लोकसभा में भी आप लोगों ने देखा, जहां जेएमएम था वहां उन लोगों जितनी भी उनकी तूफान थी सारी वापस चली गई.
जी, गुरुजी का रोल क्या है इस इलेक्शन में?
वही तो की पॉइंट हमारे मास्टर है.
नहीं, but here you have your Guruji. What do you say to Narendra Modi who says
परिवारवाद, बाप बेटे की सरकार,
उखाड़ फेंक देंगे?
आप लोग इतने सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट हैं, आप सभी जगह ये बात सुन रहे हैं पूरे देश में. ये इनको पता नहीं, या तो कोई गलत फीडबैक दे दिया गया या कोई गलत ये, क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं होता है हर जगह ये फार्मूला अप्लाई हो जाए. ये बाप बेटी की बात नहीं, जिसको बाप बोल रहे हैं वो बापों का बाप है। अरे वो महानायक है इस राज्य का, ट्राइबल लीडरशिप में इज नंबर 1
Beyond being a...
या आप उस आदमी को आप जिसने सत्ता में कभी कोई 1 महीना का, कोई 2 महीने का उनको मौका मिला, हाउ यू कैन से कि आपने लूट लिया? ये तो आंदोलन में पूरा अपना जीवन काट दिया।
That's what will you tell Mr. Modi?
वही मैंने कहा है, अभी तो बहुत सारी बातें हैं जो मैं हर मंच में है विशुद्ध रूप से मैंने तो उनको कहा है कि जो उनकी सोच है जिस तरीके से।
But they are saying there's a Modi wave here.
No.
See, there are people. This is one of the richest states in the country, but the people are the poorest. Why is that happening?
Because ये सेंट्रल लॉ, सेंट्रल के जितने भी नीति हैं, मैं समझता हूँ वो नीतियों का कारण है कि आज ये राज्य इतना बुरा हाल है।
So what about corruption in Jharkhand?
Very.
Not only Jharkhand, all over country की प्रॉब्लम है।
You are now sounding like Indira Gandhi, global phenomenon.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। और मेरे जुडिक्शन की करप्शन की बात नहीं है। ये करप्शन जो अब जो नई ट्रेन तो हमारे पास नहीं, जो ट्रेन उन लोगों ने चलाई उसमें मैं एज ए ड्राइवर चेंज हुआ हूँ। सिस्टम इज द सेम।
ट्रेन रिवर्स नहीं करनी चाहिए, ट्रेन को रिवर्स
होगा। अब देखिए यहाँ के ब्यूरोक्रेट्स पॉलिटिशियन हो गए, इलेक्शंस के बिफोर 2 days 3 days VRS लेते हैं और इलेक्शन जाते हैं। तो हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल करप्शन आप खत्म करो?
You will stop all this?
Definitely.
But thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hemant Soren, the current chief minister, hoping for a comeback. Isn't that amazing? Corruption is a train and just the driver changes once in a while. That symbolizes Jharkhand.
Driver in this state, also the guard, because governor also keeps changing. And I think you have to have the governor and the guard and the driver in cahoots, either to become very rich or to do something for this state.
That's a
tragedy. I think that's a tragedy.
Tragedy, the richest state in the union,
of
with the poorest people in the union.
Could have been the richest state. The people could have benefited enormously from the great wealth that is underground
state
here.
with Jamshedpur and state actually with not a very low GDP.
Not at all. Yeah. Almost double the GDP of Bihar.
Absolutely.
Per capita. But the people are still in dire poverty in the state. That is the tragedy of this election. Let's see what the people say in a few days from now. Thanks for watching.